Seahawks Mini Camp is in the books. A 2-day affair, Dave. They got everything done. They canceled tomorrow's final day of mini camp, so the offseason kind of begins for the players. They get a little break. This is the only really break they get. You know, you have little chunks here or there, but always in the facility working out. You have OTAs popping up, and now everyone's off until July 23rd, and then it's back, and the season begins. But we
That's
saw
a
them
long
out
ways
there.
off.
It is. It's what, a nice 6 weeks?
Yeah.
It'll
But
get here sooner than you think.
It
as you
always just
say.
seems like, you know, every year when it comes around, it's like, oh, I'm not ready for the season to start because you just launch into this whole thing. But that's a long time, and I think that's a time when you worry. You worry about guys that, you know, what they do and, you know, just make sure you don't do anything crazy. And there's always that window before camp starts. I remember there was a long streak of every year there was something there. A guy got in a car accident or somebody got arrested. Or remember one time there was the poker thing in somebody's backyard. It was during the pandemic. And somebody pulled a gun or something. And then there was bribery going on. I mean, so yeah, you worry about those times. Hopefully, and this is why we say, oh, he's a great guy, because you don't want to lose a player because of that. There's plenty of ways to lose players. Just, you know, not to, you know, screwing around, getting thrown in jail, getting injured, things like that.
Are you worried about Dicko flush with cash now? Highest paid punter in the NFL?
Yeah, maybe he's going to all of a sudden become a big gambler or something. Maybe he's going to Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you missed
I
that
think
news, yeah.
Pretty much hit the jackpot.
Yeah. Michael Dixon, affectionately known as Dicko, is the highest paid punter in the NFL. So
You just like
Yeah,
saying
let's
his
just keep
name.
saying it and saying it and saying it and saying it. That's a good call.
it's his name. It's his nickname. It's not me. I'm not the one who said that. So
Yeah, we're just quoting Mike McDonald, but let's go ahead and wear
really
it out.
excited to get Michael done. Great job by the guys in the front office. Dicko is he's the premier punter in the league. Front office, Dicko is he's the premier punter in the league.
Mike McDonald seems like such a cool dude, and I'm so bummed that, like, this is what he's done to the show. Like, the effect of him just saying this one thing has derailed an entire day of programming for you two.
Yeah. You know, that's who we are. We're very mature adults,
Yeah,
as we've
we
talked
are.
about before.
No, we're not men.
We're not men.
grown-ups. You know, the cool thing about, you were talking about they shut it down early. They had 2 good practices. They're going on some kind of a team dinner thing tonight, you know, where the whole team, I don't know if they're going to, really where they should go is just upstairs and at the VMAC. It's some of the best food I've ever
I
had.
got chicken tenders up there. That's all Sam Darnold needs.
Yeah, he eats like a kid, but yeah, they've had, but they do that kind of stuff. They did it in Tennessee last year when I was there. I was looking out the window and I was doing our show, and maybe I brought it up, but there was like 3-4 busloads of guys they went out to some kind of a place where they had like barbecue and stuff. So there's lots of that sort of team bonding type of thing, and yeah, it was interesting. Just watching sort of the culture out there, because there is some trash talking, definitely, but it doesn't go too far. Yeah, there was the one practice where Mike had to, and I think it was last week, he had to call everybody together and say, hey, guys, we got to protect each other, and let's not. They didn't have any injuries or anything like that, so that worked. That worked really well. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's they're in a good spot based on having a whole new offense and, you know, a second year with this defense. I saw a couple of things out there today that I think is interesting. Number one, it looks like if Oluwatimi doesn't get the job at center, he may not make the team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be versatile. At least that's what I think. But you've got to be versatile on this offensive line. And Jalen Sundell, you know, he's not in that same category because he can play guard. And actually, Sundell, I think, has played tackle. But, yeah, I mean, I think Olu, I'm pretty sure, has only played center.
Well, that's really interesting, especially on the heels of what Mike McDonald said yesterday. Maybe this gives it some more context. So he mentioned that Christian Haynes was getting some snaps at center yesterday.
Well, I think it goes to the interior part of our line. we're mixing and matching right now. It's a lot of great competition, and Christian's shown the ability to snap, so we've given him some opportunities to do so.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's the thing now, and it conflicts with what we always hear from Big Ray, and I tend to agree with Ray on this, that you want a guy who's a PhD. But, I mean, first you got to win a spot, right? And then you can be a PhD there. But, I mean, I don't know. I just think they're asking almost every offensive lineman to do pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's going to have to go. You're going to have speed. You're going to have to try to block a guy who is like in a gap, maybe 2 feet away from you. That's play side. You know, like you're going to have to get in a position to hook him, even though you're at a disadvantage as far as your positioning. And so I saw them doing that. And I don't know what the range is like, okay, if he's right in the gap, you could probably get to him and block him back inside, because it's a difficult block. But I'm like, I don't know how far it is. If he's like, his helmet's on the shoulder of the offensive guard, are you supposed to be able to reach him, you know, get a reach block there? I don't know that part yet, but they're asking those guys to do that kind of thing. So, but yeah, from what I understand, that's kind of one of the interesting things, and I don't know that for sure, but it just seems like that because of the versatility of almost everyone, and it kind of brought to mind that, yeah, that's right, Olu's I don't think has played other places, you know, certainly not at tackle, so pressure on him. I really like that Jalen Sundell kid, but again, the offensive line, I thought it was fascinating watching the things that they were working on and how they want to run the ball, and then just watching it as a defender going, man, that's going to be really difficult to defend if they are able to pull that off. So, but they're not going to figure out anything until pads go on. Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I like that Mike thinks that way. I think Pete was always so positive that sometimes he would say things that he didn't really believe, you know, and I think Pete might have been one of the coaches that I heard say, hey, you don't have to have a good run game to run play action pass. Like, totally disagree. You've got to sell the run. You got to buy in, and then the play action pass is a surprise. So, you know, and I think that, again, Pete was just so positive about everything. And if his run game wasn't working, it'd be, that's all right. We're still going to get it done. And I appreciate that about him. But I just personally disagree with that because I think, you know, as a linebacker, I mean, you got to sell the run. You got to sell it. And it's like Abe Lucas told us, or the clip we heard anyway, is that it's non-negotiable. We have to run the ball. So that part of it will be really interesting to see once they get pads on. But I think everything went well enough that they took a day off, right, and decided to end camp early. And so, yeah, everybody's going to head out, get their last vacation in, whatever, stay in great shape. And then, yeah, we'll see them back in, what is it, July 23rd.
It'll be here before you know it, Dave. It seems like a long time now, but it'll get there, and we'll be like, wait. Football season. We're in the later part of July.
Yeah.
So it'll be here before you know it. That is also, I think, the first open practice or one of the first few open training camp practices. I know the full schedule has come out. So Seahawks.com has the full when practices are open for fans if you want to go check that out.